All right, it's fall and it's time for the trees to change their color of their leaves. And actually, all those yellows and oranges and reds you see in the fall are there year-round in the leaf. It's just that the chlorophyll, which is green, masks all the other colors. So to show you that all the other colors are in there during the rest of the year, we have an activity where we're going to separate out the colors in the leaves so you can actually see the yellows and the greens at the same time. So just like markers, like this is a purple marker, and purple is red and blue. All right, we took a purple marker and we did the same thing we're going to do to these leaves. We put rubbing alcohol on some purple marker and it separated out into the different colors. And this is a brown marker that we did the same thing to, so it separated out into the colors that are always there, but you can't see them because they're masked by the overall color. So what we're going to do today is we're going to take some leaves and we're going to use rubbing alcohol and coffee filters, since you should have some of those at your house, and we're going to do a fun little activity to show where the colors are all year round. So this is a tree I did last week. That's a golden rain tree. So you can see the green chlorophyll and then you can see the yellow that is going to show up in a few weeks. These are actually from the lettuce mix that we bought at a grocery store. And since they are plants and they are leaves, they have chlorophyll, but you can also see a little bit of yellow and even a little bit of red there. So you can use something that you already have around your house, like spinach, or you can go out while the leaves are still green and collect some from your yard and do what we're about ready to do. Okay, so the first thing we have to do is collect some leaves, and then we have to mash them up to get all the good juices out from inside that have all the colors. So I collected some leaves. These are from a Japanese maple, and I'm just going to mush them up using a mortar and pestle. I also have done some of these before where I just cut them up and then mash them in the bottom of a cup with the back end of a marker. So you don't have to have a mortar and pestle. You can just use whatever you have to mash up some leaves, because what we're interested in are the juices on the inside of the leaves. So you don't want to use some that are dried up. You want to get some that still have the juices. Now if you notice, it looks like the only color in here is green. But we're going to find out shortly that that's not the case. There's enough to get us started. So what we're going to do is we're going to pour some rubbing alcohol. So we have a little bit of rubbing alcohol and our torn up leaves. So I'm just going to grind them and mash them so that we end up with the pigments. And you can tell the rubbing alcohol is getting some of the pigments in it and turning the rubbing alcohol green, and some other colors too. Alright, looks like we've got some pretty good mashed up leaves and their juice in there. So we're going to now go to the second phase, which is to put it on coffee filter paper and let the colors separate out. Since each color is a different molecule, they move through filter paper at slightly different rates, and that's what helps them separate out. Okay, so the next step is to transfer the juice with the pigment in it to the coffee filter paper, which will separate out the different pigments. So what we're going to do is we're going to try just to get the juice, and we're going to drop it slowly in the middle of the coffee filter and not soak it enough that there's a hole in the middle of the coffee filter, but just keep replenishing it so it'll have enough juice to separate out. You can start to see some of the colors coming out to the side there. And if you look really closely, you can see yellow leading the way. So what happens is, during the summertime, the chlorophyll is doing most of the work, but there's other colors in the leaves besides chlorophyll that catch the wavelengths of light that the chlorophyll can't absorb. That way it's pretty efficient. So in the fall, the chlorophyll starts to break down, and what you see are the other colors that get masked the rest of the year. Okay, so this takes a while, as you can tell, but if you keep applying it and you're patient, after a while you can stop applying it and let it dry, and it'll be more obvious where the yellow and the green are. Now the reds and the oranges sometimes aren't in particular species, and sometimes it takes like a freeze or close to a freeze to have the chemical reactions to cause those colors. But you should be able to find green and yellow inside most leaves. So if we're patient and we let this dry, then eventually it'll look like this, where it's pretty obvious where the green and yellow are, although you can start to see it forming right there. So this is a science project you could do right now before the leaves start to change color, and all you need is a coffee filter and some rubbing alcohol.
We hope you enjoyed this video. It's part of our Oklahoma Gardening YouTube channel. You can also find even more videos on our OK Gardening Classics YouTube channel. And join us on social media for great gardening tips, photos, and discussion.